Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 2nd, 2023 at approximately 4:22 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live my life by. Now, with this in mind, before I get any further here, eternity is in with the gold. I voices is in with the silver. Then we have Adam has come in with the bronze. Now, things have been a little hectic the last couple of days, actually the last couple of weeks, but here's the reality behind it. The thing that's kind of caused me to miss a number of shows, a number of live streams, is because I just moved my eldest son back in. Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You've managed to come in with the honorable mention. So I did get my son moved in and we just moved him in on the 31st. So he's back in the house now, which I'm quite happy with. And then, of course, the other thing that's taken up a lot of my time is I've just finished writing another self help book that all I'm waiting for now is the cover work to be done and go lay out the ISBN number for it. Now, this being said, needless to say, life's been a little on the hectic side. And yes, as is already being noted in the chat room, I am on Spaced Out Radio again tonight from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. PST. Now today, I had to postpone it a number of times, but we are going to be looking at EMF. Okay. And just exactly how that can affect you. Now, something we have to be clear about. I am not a scientist, not by the traditional sense of the word. I've never been trained in it. But that said, I do seem to have a functional understanding, at least from what I gather, of the way different things work. Now, that said, EMF means electromagnetic frequency. Now, in my world, I don't only look at the electromagnetic field, but the bioelectric magnetic field. Now, the way you look at that, first and foremost, and we gotta go back to basic science for this. I'm gonna overheat. We have to go back to basic science for this. And we have to remember what's called bringing the air conditioner closer. We have to remember that every molecule has an electron traveling around it. Okay, it has at least as anywhere from no electrons, and I'll get to that in a second, to, well, quite frankly, I've seen elemental depictions with up to 250 electrons. Now, whenever you have an electromagnetic pulse or an electromagnetic field, it will interrupt anytime a field passes through another field, it causes a bit of disjunction. Jimmy, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Now, an EM field, an electromagnetic field, will interrupt other electromagnetic fields. Not only will it happen that way, but we also have to remember that when we're dealing with electromagnetic fields, the stronger field will override the other one. It's kind of like a water flow. Okay. If you've got a current of water going one way, and another current of water hits it at an off angle, it will change the direction. Whichever one is stronger will force the other electron, the other water field, the other water flow to change direction. Now, with this in mind, an electromagnetic field will do the exact same disruption, will cause the same disruption in other fields. This can be very devastating in a lot of ways. JCL, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Now, when we look at the EMF, okay, electromagnetic field, understand this applies to electrical fields, it applies to living bodies, and it applies to ghosts. This is how ghosts are from a mechanical standpoint. This is how ghosts are detected. When their EM field creates a disjunction in a nearby field. That, as near as I understand it, seems to be the way that these EMF meters work. They look for a disjunction. Okay, now understand, if you've got a strong enough EM field, it can disrupt the bioelectric field in the human body, thereby causing a spontaneous heart attack or various other problems, not the least of which is causing nervous shutdown. Now, I have seen somebody myself generate a high enough EMF, a high enough electromagnetic field to cause a disruption on the surface of standing water. Now, I've seen this with my own eyes, and this is why I say I don't ask people to just flat out believe what I'm telling you. Do your own research. Okay, but I will tell you, when you start seeing things that, so to speak, defy logic, defy everything you've been told. Okay, I mean, let's take the extreme obvious. We're told when you die, that's the end of the story in this world. Only I'm living proof that that's not always the case. And if there's one of us out there, there is the possibility of another. In my case, at 5 years old, I was diagnosed dead. I didn't agree, so I got up and left the morgue. Science has proven, by all their calculations, that the bumblebee cannot fly. Problem is, nobody bothered telling the bumblebee. Emmy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So what we have to realize is, just because modern science says one thing doesn't mean it's absolutely accurate. And Raven has missed one here. Shadow snuck in right away, but right behind Shadow, almost at the same time, we have Raven coming through the door at the same time. So I mean, all in all, we are looking, things are changing gears, and this is a nice place. But what virtually all of us are finding out, and many of the people that are in this chat room, and many of the people I talk to, have already figured out, is that just because science says one thing doesn't mean they got it absolutely right. This is again proven when we look at go way back, when mankind believed that the sun revolved around the earth. Okay, and then somewhere along the line, don't ask me which ancient scientist did it, but somebody turned around and proved that no, the sun does not revolve around the earth. Although mankind would, like all the learned people, believe that the sun revolved around the earth, somebody came along and finally proved otherwise. Okay. And it starts out as somebody questioning, like many of you do. Okay, it starts out with people questioning, what if this is wrong? What if there is an error here? Okay, now that's one of the biggest things we have to look at. is in order to really start to understand the scientific world, you got to remember. I will have to contact her afterwards. When, what you have to remember is that we start off by looking at what we're told. And then you get this question, but what if there's something that's been overlooked? I was told growing up that once your eyes start to collapse, they will continue to collapse. Okay. Again, I'm living proof that this does not have to be the case. Yes, I still wear glasses, but we have to look at the other side of this. It used to be if I was holding my glasses that close, I couldn't physically see them. With them that close, I can actually see them way over there on my screen. On the EMF, on the EM field, the electromagnetic field, can be modified. Now, we've talked about this under different names, not the least of which was the term 0-point energy. This is correct, Raven. And glasses are definitely a lifesaver. I've tried driving around without glasses. Not a good idea. Okay. Did it by accident, but that's beside the point. Now, the electromagnetic frequency, everything vibrates at a different rate. Everything vibrates at a rate that can be tracked. And this is where we run into some of the interesting questions about whether things are from a different dimension. When something vibrates at a higher rate, at a higher electromagnetic field, with a higher electromagnetic field, it can render itself invisible. Proof is in the pudding. Take your hand. Okay, if you move it slowly, you can track it easily. But if you move it really fast, it'll fade out of existence and end up popping up elsewhere. The same thing applies to everything in life. You make it vibrate faster, it will disappear from the optic view. Okay, you move something fast enough, and physical objects can pass between them and between each other and come out the other side. Okay, this depends on the electromagnetic field. When you throw bio into it, as in the biomagnetic field, now here's the funny thing. The biomagnetic field, the reason I call it that is because it is a combination biological, magnetic, and electrical field. These are combined. Okay. Now, when you take a look at that, these can absolutely shatter all sorts of things. And like I said, when one field comes in contact with another, it can absolutely scramble the other's field. This is why some of you out there can have, shall we say, an adverse impact on the electrical field of certain appliances or of things like cell phones. Now I will tell you this. This particular cell phone, I can scramble in a heartbeat. But this is one, I honestly don't know where it came from. Okay, I'm sure some of you recognize this phone. Okay. These ones were harder for my system to override. Of course, there was less intricate fields for them. And Joe's just going, yes, glasses are great. I can't live without mine, even though I look stupid in them. Well, it's like I used to tell people, it's like I used to tell people that, Joe. I went to buy a new set of glasses one day. I went to buy a new set of glasses, and the doctor and the optometrist ophthalmologist asked me, what kind of frames do you want? I looked at her and I said, the ones that hold the glass in front of my eyes. She goes, no, seriously. I said, I am serious. If I take my glasses off, I can't see my frames. And if I put my glasses on, I don't have to look at them. So it really did work out that way for me. Absolutely, Raven. You see, and this is one of the neat things about it. Raven's just suggesting, where are we here? Raven goes, I was just watching a video about personal EMF. Ground at least 20 minutes a day. Eliminate anxiety. And 3, cultivate heart-centered emotions. Okay, now, that said, let's cover each of those in sequence. When we're talking about grounding once a day, okay, that literally boils down to this, and I've talked to you about this before. If you're feeling a little wound up, take your hand, doesn't matter which one, okay, put it palm down on something that normally sits on the ground. Okay, be that a heavy chair, a heavy couch, the wall itself, a heavy table. You put it palm down and you visualize the excess energy running out of your hand into that physical object. Now, make sure that you're certain this is something that is very heavy and hard to pick up. Because what you're doing is transferring the negative energy to it. Okay, that would be first and foremost. Now, you can do that, and this is why some people will say, look, I get done with the flight, I get off the plane, I walk around in bare feet. Okay, I spend a lot of my day at home walking around in bare feet. But that, again, is a way of helping the excess energy bleed off. And I do hate hiccups. Yeah, I realize that was totally off kilter, but what the heck? I am Pam. How are you? Glad you could join us. Now, that's the first one about the grounding. Eliminate anxiety. Well, this is a great idea, and if you ever figure out how to do that, let me know. I do agree with it. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to eliminating anxiety, the key to it is figure out what you have personal direct control over. What you've got control over, that's what you start with. Oh, absolutely there, Raven. There's just about any way, there's just about countless ways you can do it. The people that came out with the idea of hug a tree, they weren't kidding. You hug a tree, and you can drain off a lot of the negative energy. Who I call Esau, who you call Mother Earth or Gaia, or just Earth, she will draw that negative energy out of you quite readily if you let her. But you focus on controlling the things you do have control over. Okay, things you can physically get up and do something with. Okay. For instance, if I'm holding on to my cell phone, I have control over whether I let it drop and catch it again or whether I switch it to another hand. I've got control over that. Uh-oh. What have we got here? Just gonna let this one know. Like I said, there are certain things that I do choose to do, certain things I don't. If you've got control over it, okay, if you have absolute direct control, that's what you look at dealing with. Okay, you got to remember there's a lot of you out there that will turn around. Oh, now come on, Shadow. Vampire trees are not that big of a problem. But I will tell you, you drive an axe into the base of an ant, they're going to get annoyed and probably slap you around a while. You know, yeah, I know that was a little twisted. Anyway, when you've got control over it and you take control of that situation, you will drop your stress level. You will drop your anxiety level. That's the good news side of it. Now, where was the third one here? Oh, I have to scroll up, of course. And number 3, of course, that Raven mentioned, was cultivate heart-centered emotions, meaning follow karmic law number 2 is the easiest way to put it. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Okay. Not as some gaming philosophies have it, where it's do unto others as you think they're going to do unto you, but do it first and then split. Now, do understand that is a gaming philosophy for very, very intense games. Very intense role-playing games, as in tabletop gaming. Okay. Now, the important thing here, when we take a look at the EMF, okay, everything generates one. Literally everything. It's because every molecule, you take a molecule, and let's just take the smallest one on the Terran periodic table. Okay, which is a hydrogen atom. Now, basic physics, people, and I am no physics teacher. Okay. Well, I guess technically what I'm about to do is teach. But when you take a basic hydrogen atom, it has one electron. Now, that electron, quite often those electrons just let go of one atom and attach to another. Now, here's the thing, and follow me on this. You've got a whole pile of hydrogen atoms, and they release the electrons. Now, this means you have a whole pile of atoms with no electrons. This is what is filling the space between the atoms. It is also what perpetuates the EMF field, the EM field. Because that electron that's exiting the hydrogen atom creates a shock wave through the atoms with no electrons. Okay, basically it's an overgrown game of ping pong. Okay, or there was an old 70 game called Kerplunk, or if we go to Japan, we can call it pachinko. Okay, where it makes all kinds of noise, and yes, electrons hitting a null atom will cause an auditory noise. And rest assured, if you can hear it, it's annoying sometimes. But that electron leaves, leaving a null atom behind, and when it connects with another hydrogen atom, now providing 2 electrons traveling around the atom, the hydrogen atom, it now becomes a helium atom. And this is where that EM field keeps increasing. Okay, but like I said, I forget, I didn't actually take a look at it, but last I knew, I think there were like 120 elements on the periodic table of elements, as far as Earth goes. But I have seen tables with 250. Needless to say, they weren't on Earth. But every time we go and we make another step forward, we end up getting a little bit more knowledge. Now, let's see, we're just going to move down a little here. Yeah, I got a kick out of it. I'm just looking at this where, where are we here? Yeah, I am Pam. He said she uses a weighted blanket. I just ended up using, I just removed all my all my heavy quilts from my bed because, frankly, way too hot for me. Now, I do know people use the weighted blanket and they do find it helps. I absolutely agree with you there. You know, where do we go here? I would love to know how that's done, how he does that. But somebody just mentioned something very, very definitively, and I agree with. If you've never tried hugging a tree to help yourself relax, give it a shot. If you haven't tried it, don't knock it. Now, there are times when that philosophy will backfire. I'm telling you, and this goes way off topic. If you've never tried ketchup and vanilla ice cream, I strongly recommend you don't. You probably won't be overly happy about it. At least I know I wasn't. You know, but the more you relax, the more in control of your life you become. Now, this said, about a week and a half ago, I started writing another self-help book. Okay, and like I said, I'm going to try and get these dealt with. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I started writing it. I just put the final touches on it this morning. Okay, next week they'll get the cover done, and in that time, I will get the ISBN number for it. Okay, so with this in mind, I've now got an 8th book coming out regarding the different fields that I'm working with. But the EMF is something that affects all life, all it exists, all existence. It affects all existence. And when we start talking about, World War III and the impact of an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, which is a more focused form of an EMF, you can bet it will disrupt things. Now, just like an EMP can affect the runnings of an electrical field, as can a biomagnetic field or a BMF. Okay, I think there's another term for that at this point, but it can affect it. You can cause that same disruption yourself. As a matter of fact, not using this, but I had a client years ago that came by. I was doing a consultation for her, and when we got back out to her car, the battery had died. Using my own biomagnetic field, I recharged her battery enough to get it started. But like I told her, okay, I said, as soon as you get the opportunity, go straight from here to a place to buy a new battery, because this one is likely shot. Okay, and that is very much the case there, Raven. Anxiety definitely puts the body into a fight or flight mode. Myself, I'm a pacifist, but I'm not good at running, so I tend to just modify things a bit. See, I'm just oh heavens, Pam. If you could see the number of typos I do, you'd be appalled. You know, but this is why I have such an absolutely bang on editor that is just picky as all get out. Now, like myself, she's not perfect, but between the two of us, we catch most of it. Where are we here? Ultimately, it is a shade. I didn't see it come in. What do we got here? Shade, I'm glad you managed to get here. I do hope your day's been going well. And by the way, guys, if you like the stream, do me a favor and give us a thumbs up. Okay. That somehow seems to have an impact on the YouTube algorithm. Also, do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. My son's moved in. I've got another book in print, and coming into print right away. Okay, I won't be able to give you a definitive price on it until next week when I get it completed. Okay, and what we got? We have Derek here. Derek, we are finally done with the hospital. Double shot ear infection with both kids. Ouch, ouch, not fun. Had an ear infection myself a while back. Not fun. But I am glad you're done with it. And what do we got here? Oh, excellent. Yeah, Derek's just saying, I'm not quite certain how this fits, but Derek just goes, Keith, Desiree messed up. I will be recording the book. Now, I presume that's the one you were talking about, that you're writing. I will have to eventually find somebody that can actually do the voiceover for my own books, and I will end up dealing with that. But that's one of those things I got to work on down the road. Now, what do I got here? Raven, what is... I'm just going back up over some of this. I tell you, I cannot figure out how Dave does this. How he tracks all of things going on at the same times. Raven just going, with regards to number 3 in the video, it said to focus your heart, breathe into it, and think about joyful memories or things you're grateful for. This will expand your energy. Absolutely it will. The other thing that will help with that is let your mind visualize beyond what you've been taught. Okay? Let your brain expand, let your brain question. And absolutely question. The other thing you have to remember is, regardless of what you're questioning, remember the people you're asking can only give you answers based on what they themselves have finally either pieced together or accepted. That worked out well. You know, there is such a wonderful... I do not believe the amount of trouble I've been having here. Ozzy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, all in all, we are looking at a very, very exciting point in society right now. This world is on the verge of change. Well, it's always changing. The question is, are we going to let it continue down the road that it's been going down? Where are we here? Christine, did I see you come in? I don't know. Yeah, Derek, I am. I will be on Spaced Out Radio tonight from 9 p.m. to 7 p.m. or to 11 p.m. Pacific time. So, of course, this means when I get done this stream, I'll be taking a break and then coming back on for 9 o'clock tonight. You know, and again, guys, if you've got questions... Oh, that's the good point. You know, I am doing my best on that. The nice part there with tonight there, where are we here? With tonight there, Christine, I don't talk for 2 hours straight. Okay. Dave does a lot of the talking, and I only fill in the odds and ends. You know, that's where this can be a little bit tricky on occasion. But fortunately, I'm still surviving. But I do appreciate the thought process. You know, the nice thing that we have to look at here, you can actually modify your own EMF. Okay, in this case, your own biomagnetic field. You take your hands on... I've shown you this before, but I'll do it again anyway. Okay, take your hands, put them palms towards each other. You can still see me behind them. Okay, quarter inch, maybe half an inch apart. And you focus on that location. You'll feel a field somewhere between your hands. Okay, how you want to describe it is up to you, or how you choose to describe it. Okay, I've heard people describe it as heat, as a cushion, One individual described it as bubbles. Okay, but you focus on that, and as you get a stronger feel for it, separate the hands a little more. Now, I can just open my hands, and after a moment, I can feel the energy between them. Now, you can see they're a pretty fair piece apart. Now, the neat part about that is once you've got that field running, think one word, heal. Okay, now this is where that energy comes in really handy. Now, I can hold my hands out that far very easily, okay, and feel the energy field. Now, you, I am absolutely certain, can feel the energy field that far apart. Separate it as far as you need to. And one of the ways that I keep my anxiety level at a minimum is I take take my hands to that distance, and then I'll bring them slowly up over top of my head. Okay. Meanwhile, concentrating on that field, and you can still feel the energy between your hands, even with your head right between it. Now, I do that with the idea in mind of that one word, heal. You don't have to know what's off kilter. Your body already does. Okay. By doing that, you can stabilize your own anxiety. Okay, there's that method, or putting your hand down on something solid. Either one will help bleed off the excess. And again, this is just learning how to do the basics of manipulating that field. Shades, I almost got the maybe I will cause I maybe I will because I heard good things about them. See, here's the thing. Well, here's the thing, Shade. Doctors have said that nerves will not regenerate themselves. And yet, the same types of doctors have turned around and said, every cell in the human body is replaced every 7 years. Well, this is just in complete contradiction to the idea that nerve cells will not regenerate. Okay. And you got to pick which one you're going to believe, because I will tell you whether you believe your body will heal or you believe it won't. Either way, you're likely to be proven accurate. Now, this is a piece of information I didn't bother looking for. Raven is just reporting here. The human body has 35 billion cells. Each cell contains 0.07 millivolts of electricity. You do the math. We are walking nuclear reactors. Okay. We are also, by the way, walking fusion reactors, because you take anything that anything you can consume, and some people can consume bizarre things. Okay. In my case, I keep these around. Okay. Pretty much inedible. Cheesy. These are Hawkins cheesies, but they got a great salt content that helps me keep my body running properly. But if your body can break it down, and your body can, then it will take that other energy and convert it into its own fuel. Net result, we have a fusion reactor. Now, I don't recall offhand what the difference is between a fusion reactor and a fission reactor, but I'm certain that somebody listening knows it. Yeah, Shadow goes, do the math. No one told me there was a test. Yeah, see, I lucked out there in Shadow. When I was going to school, I had 3 types of math teachers. The first group wanted the answer. The second group wanted the answer and some work. And the third group wanted the answer and some work, preferably their own. Right. So I got called to the front of the class in grade 10 one day, and the teacher says, Keith, I'd like you to go up to the front of the blackboard. And I know that's a bizarre concept for some of you guys out there, but I got told, go up and show the class how you solve the equation. So I walked up to the blackboard. I grabbed my piece of chalk And I looked at it, read the equation, and wrote the answer down. Then I went down to the bottom of the blackboard and started decompiling it. Well, I got about halfway up the board, so I still got all this room here that's empty. And my teacher looks at me and goes, "What are you doing?" So I'm showing the class how I solved the problem. And he goes, "Well, where'd you get the answer?" I said, "It's right, isn't it?" He goes, "Well, yeah, it's right, but where did you get it?" I said, "I don't know, I'm working on it." He told me to go and sit down. Never called me up to the front of the class again. Um, that's terrible, Shadow. That really is. Shadow's just saying I'm a human overreactor. Here we are. The muscles, Shade's going, the muscles click the bones in place by feeling the wrong. If you focus just standing still, you'll feel your energy, nerves, and muscles. Then click the muscles, and yeah. Ultimately, you are right there, Shade. When you sit and you feel your body, you can tell if something is off. Okay. When we're talking about individually tensing your muscles, we are talking about isometric exercise. Apparently, we are going to have trouble speaking today. Should prove interesting for tonight. Seeing here, I thought it was the oddity. I think that's a great idea, Derek. Now I myself am Las Vegas, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, in my case, guess I sort of have to put that there. Whoa, and that run. Gotta put that there. And me personally, I am in Kelowna, BC, Canada. So much for typing. And we have Derek is down in Jack's Beach, Florida. Where are we here? Saying, and there we have Raven is outside St. Louis, Montana. And we have World, whom I did not see coming, I don't think. World is in from Big Sky, Montana. So at this point, now I know Ozzy is from down in Australia somewhere. So we do have the ability to change everything around us. Oh, my apologies there, Raven. Raven is in. Oh, Shade is in Connecticut. I believe that's Connecticut on the Massachusetts line. And we have Adam up in Bassano, Alberta. That's up in Canada, guys. JCO goes, Ohio, obviously. I'm doing my best to work out geography. The funny thing is, when I took geography in high school, I only got basically, well, I get about 70% right. But then I had a problem with it. I had a problem with it. I could never understand how, if you couldn't draw a line on a sandbox and say, this is my area, you can't come into it. I could never wrap my brain around the idea of drawing a line on a piece of paper. Yeah, and I know we've got people that pop in we've got people that come in out of England, and I saw one come in out of France one day. We don't have as wide an array as we will one day. But the important factor from my standpoint is here we have people from all across at least two countries and really across the world. Okay, all working towards the same thing. Whoops, give me half a second. This one I can actually do. Where are we? Just gonna ask a question from a very old client of mine. So this is what cosplay is. This is what happens on live feed. See, this is the other thing I do is I get people calling me up with questions that have nothing to do with anything I'm working on. It's just I have this neat little problem with trying to get computers to work. Pardon the delay, but that's just the way life goes for me. Here we are. There we go. Hey, Skip to Malou, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, I've got a fan behind me that was kind of necessary because the temperature here was being absolutely bizarre. You know, what did I do with it? Put it down there. I will probably go and get more of this soon, but we'll see what happens. You know, I do appreciate that there, Shane. You know, the fact of the matter is, my mind works in a very like I've never been able to fit into a normal into a if you will normal field, if you will. Yeah, well, I was working at a psychic fair one day, and we decided to try something really important. We went, because it was selling some of my books and some other stuff as well. And I turned around and said, and I wrote down free beer with every purchase, but it was free beer in great big letters. And then right underneath the word beer, I put in brackets root because there's no way I'm giving away free alcohol. The price is way, way, way too high. You know, the important thing from my end is I've been working on an awful lot of different things at the same time. One of these issues that I'm looking at this point. Oh, where are we here? World's going on. I'm on the Illinois side of the Mississippi River, which is famous for the plaza bird, a prehistoric man-eating monster. See, I always liked the Phorahawkus and the Deinonychus. I was actually, my mom was really lost at loss a lot of the time because I was already teaching my younger brother when I was 6. I was already teaching my younger brother about the life cycles of dinosaurs. And I'll tell you, here's 2 things I found out really early on in my research. Number 1, dinosaurs were not all just gray or all just kind of an off green. They were extremely vibrantly colored animals. Okay. We also know that they were a lot bigger due to the fact that the oxygen levels were higher, which does tell you if you redesign your lungs, and redesign as in you focus on your lungs with the idea of heal, and you get them working a little bit better, okay, what you'll end up finding out is that your body will heal faster. It will likely grow a little, and I'm not talking about putting on extra weight. Okay. Are we really? I just noticed here, Joe's going, the chat has already got 21. You know, Joe, I can really thank you for it, I believe. Because I do believe you're the one that suggested bringing EM field in. Oh, okay. Which is absolutely great from my standpoint. Where are we here? You know, I mean, I take a look at the other one, and I know this is a complete sidetrack from EM fields, but the other bird I really got a kick out of, why, fortunately not directly, was the moa, which was a flightless bird that was, well, let's face it, the thing was 18 feet tall. That's a big turkey. Well, true. You know, and Derek's going, there was vapor canopy, everything was bigger. And the funny thing about it is, you know, there is, yeah, I mean, there is, when you take a look at it, there are things still surfacing that people didn't know about then. Okay. Oh, our little centipede is awake upstairs. Yeah, Raven's going to, yeah, chimeras are a real neat critter. There are many things. Thank you so much for double checking that for me there, Las Vegas. You know, I really do appreciate it. Yeah, Adam's just going, wonder what dinosaur tastes like. Well, here's the thing. Okay, and I don't think they're endangered. In the Nevada desert, there is something called a tuatara. Okay, now the tuatara is a lizard that's only about that long, but they have found fossilized tuatara from, I think, about 200 million years ago that have not changed at all. Okay, so dinosaur, you know, yeah. Shadow goes, tastes like chickafont. And I was thinking dinosaur tastes like dinosaur, depending on which one. A T-Rex tastes like a T-Rex. You know, an ankylosaurus, if you can ever get through the outer shell, probably tastes like the ankylosaurus. You know, we fluctuate and what have you, but with the EM pulse, okay, with the EM field, you can concentrate on it. And if you look at somebody, and this is how I usually end up reading photographs. If you take a look at the shoulder, at the body, around the head is the easiest place to see it usually. But if you take a look at the field right around the body you're looking at, whether it's a photograph or you're looking at an actual live person, if it's got a field, if it's only on one side, you know, if you take a look at it, it only shows up on one side of the body or one side of the hand, you're likely seeing an overlay. If you're getting an equidistant field all the way around it, okay, you're looking at the aura. This is why, with the old religious paintings, they've got these spiritual individuals with a great big halo around them. Understand something about the EM field generated by the human body, or the aura field, if you will. The aura, the EM field, the biomagnetic field, these are all names for the same thing. And these are all English names. So you can picture what happens when you start adding new languages. Okay. But each one of these is the same thing. Skip to Malou. Just a quick reminder, because I'm going to answer your question right away. But for those of you that do have a question, do me a favor and put at least part of it in all caps so I can spot the thing, because I just about missed that question there, Skip. The answer to your question, can you close your heart if you're an old soul? You can certainly close your heart. This is a bad idea. Okay. Way back, 50,000 years ago, when the Lemurian Empire was running, okay, we all had full control over it. And we did something absolutely stupid, but we didn't know it was stupid until it was too late. We all shut our physical hearts down at the same time. Okay. And with that in mind, can it be done? Yes, but it's likely to prove fatal. The other option of shutting down your heart, okay, if we're talking about shutting down the emotional heart, this is absolutely against the whole concept of learning what you have, of gaining wisdom this lifetime. I urge you not to shut your heart down. Okay. Okay. I urge you not to, because what happens is you stop being able to feel what the other people around you and what the other life around you is feeling. And it's through this connection that you yourself will grow and heal. Okay. That would be first and foremost. And yes, Adam, I did get your message here. He's just saying, Keith, I haven't forgotten about sending you an email about the end of July. Just been outrageously busy with work and family stuff. I know how that goes. You know, I've had to miss a number of live streams for a lot of reasons. Yeah. Yeah, Shadow goes, fire the psychologist, then go get a puppy. Problem solved. The sad part about it with most psychologists, and I've got nothing against them. Okay. I was actually asked why I didn't become one. And as I told my psychiatrist, I said, look, the reality is this. I don't need a sheet of paper on the wall for somebody to tell me I have no idea what I'm talking about. You know, see, I get a kick out of it. You know, I'm taking a look at this. And correct me if I'm wrong, Shadow, but this term you got here, you said long pig. I take it that's referring to dogs. Or no, that's referring to people from the cannibals, I believe. And in all fairness, if you look at a pig, okay, when you cut it all down, it's kind of like the same as a bear. They're very hard to tell the difference between people, pigs, and bears when you remove the skin, or in their case, the fur. Although it'll go with the skin. Okay, I know when I was growing up, my dad used to refer to cats, as in your house cats, as roof rabbits. Why, I don't know, but it stuck. You know, do I have a dog myself? No. But what I have found is you can calm an animal, whether it's a wild animal. And by the way, do not do this if you're not absolutely certain what you're doing. This is a bad game to play. Okay, you can actually affect another's mood by altering the electrophilic and magnetic field around them. You absolutely can. But I will tell you, if the animal is just edgy, you can calm them down easy. If they're mad, the odds are you're not going to shut them down before they rip you apart. Uh, yeah. Well, here's bad news for you, world. Here's total bizarre sidetrack for you. Okay. I voices. I will. The short answer to your question is yes, and I'll get to more specifics in a minute. When I was studying dinosaurs, when I was studying basically self-directed paleontology, I found out something. The Brontosaurus never existed. It was misidentified. Way back in the late 70s, they discovered that somebody had put the wrong head, I forget which head it was, but they put the wrong head on a particular skeleton, and they used that as the reason why they called it a brontosaurus. The animal that was identified as a brontosaurus when they straightened it all out is what became known as the apatosaurus. Okay, now, iVoices is just asking, are there any living dinosaurs on Earth? Okay. Oh, by the way, world, just a side note, although Brontosaurus didn't exactly taste like bacon, you could get back bacon from a Brontosaurus. T-Rexes did it all the time. They just argued about it a lot. Now, iVoices, couple for you. The Tuatara is already, like, they know the Tuatara still exists today. The alligator and the crocodile were both alive way back, millions of years ago. If you ask my input on it, then you take a look at Ogopogo, you're looking at a long-necked plesiosaur. If you take a look at Loch Ness Monster, you're looking at either a short-necked plesiosaur or an elasmosaur, and the difference in that particular issue would be the length of the jaw, which I don't recall seeing the last time I saw the head of one of those. That would not surprise me at all. Now, why does it strike me as the Longo? I realize it was sauropod. I'm just wondering if it was a predecessor to the kangaroo. Okay. And yes, turtles are also prehistoric. There are a lot of snakes, a lot of salamanders and what have you. Okay, they're definitively prehistoric. There's even a photo on YouTube, and I am not the one to tell you whether something is photoshopped or not, but I know they exist. Okay, but there's a photo, there's a video on YouTube that shows a pteranodon. Okay, which was there's not a name for it, but it was an airborne dinosaur. Ah, yeah, oh, okay, that's not a problem there, Ozzy. There is a dinosaur that was recently, as in about 3 years ago, spotted running around in the Congolesian jungle. Okay, now there are a lot more dinosaurs available if you go into the inner earth. What, you don't like turtle soup? What have we got? They have at least 4 weird things in the Congo. The monoclonius is actually the predecessor to the Triceratops. Oh, Raven. Dave and I have had this argument for years. In my opinion, it's very simple. Bigfoot is not only prehistoric, not only could be prehistoric, but is Gigantopithecus. Okay, one step prior to to the evolutionary step that became Neanderthal. Okay, and they are very definitively, in my opinion, they are simply, they are simply Terran people. They are not extra dimensional or any of that. Now, don't get me wrong. Dave and I have just simply agreed to disagree on that one. I personally ran into a small family pod of them, okay, when I was about 4 years old. Because we went camping and I got lost. And the young one of them brought me back to their encampment. And then after the father and mother got me calmed down, they got me back to my parents. And it was nice of my father to confirm all of this on his deathbed. What do we got? Ozzy goes, a strange one I saw. Look up the Thylacoleo-skeleton. See, the nice little part about that, when you take a look at that, and like there are a number of animals, of prehistoric mammals that people thought were extinct. Not the least, and this one wasn't a mammal, it was a fish. Not the least of which is they did catch way back in 1969. They pulled a coelacanth off the coast of Madagascar. They have recently seen the mosasaur resurface, and I believe it was the Deinonychus they saw, which is a huge deep sea fish. These are things that are still out and about. But the funny part about it is every one of these gives off an electromagnetic field. Well, I'm not gonna, in all fairness, their world, I am certainly not in any position to argue the science of something. I will agree with you, DNA doesn't lie. But what I will caution you on is the findings that show up in DNA can be falsely reported, and quite often are. Now, that doesn't mean the DNA is wrong. Now, I am curious, though. Clearly, they haven't. This isn't a current report anyway. But you got to remember, with Gigantopithecus, okay, just like there are no purebred strains of any human DNA. Okay, you have no pure Caucasian, no pure black people, no pure Italians. Everybody in today's world has a mix of some DNA, which is why we lump you all together and go, you're all equally valuable, and every single one of you is necessary to turn this world around. Raven's going, but are they so psychic? Where are we here? Oh, heavens, Ozzy, you still have kangaroos that are like 3 meters tall. Raven's asking, but are they so psychic? They seem more advanced than us in many ways. I'm presuming you're referring to Sasquatch. And essentially, they are much more connected to the natural world than humans are. So, yeah, they will seem, as psychics, as a psychic field, they would certainly seem more advanced. Well, and Shadow, thank you so much for joining us. Shadow's just got to run off. Burgers are on the table. I absolutely agree with you there, Shadow. See, there's a lot of, well, thanks so much for joining us, Shadow. I really appreciate it. Oh, World just added at the end there. Giganto was just sequenced a couple of years ago. The DNA of Sasquatch does not have it, nor Neanderthal, nor Denisovans. Yeah, there are a lot of variations. And let's face it, the species do evolve. And quite often it gets a little bit twisted. But the important factor where it comes to EM fields is we can control the field around ourselves. And it's this field that really turns around and changes things. Okay. Now, I'm going to, because my throat is going to seize if I don't. What I'm going to do is take half a minute off. I'm going to leave you guys alone. I'm going to get a refresher on water here. I'll be right back. Right. Very necessary little commodity here. Like I said, half the reason why I only go 2 hours here is because it does wear on my throat. When I'm actually spaced out or on any other channel for that matter. I'm not talking straight through it. What do we got here? In all fairness, Raven's just asking, how much does our Wi-Fi, smart meters, etc., affect our body? Quite honestly, most of the stuff you're told about is absolutely, in my opinion, extremely negligible. Okay, it's essentially it's a very minor shift. Now, the thing you got to remember is if you take, for instance, let's say you take a cell phone. Okay, let's say you take a cell phone and you ramp it right up and you put it way back here, right against the cerebral cortex. You may get a slightly higher impact. Okay, but things that will have a much more direct impact would be something like a shotgun mic. Or if you're putting a headset on, okay, not only will the headset damage your hearing if you turn the music up too high, but it will also affect your cognitive capacity because it will disrupt the electromagnetic field, the bioelectric field in your body, thereby making cognition more complicated. Is it going to kill you? Are you going to develop cancer? Bad news about cancer. Actually, I'm going to give you two pieces. I think it was about a decade ago. People talk about cancer being a new thing, but I think it was about a decade ago that scientists uncovered in dinosaur bones, they found cancer. Now, I'm not sure, but I don't think the cancer that dinosaurs had Wi-Fi or many other of the other carcinogens, not least of which would be, oil fields and what have you, and that sort of thing. You know, when you take a look at that, cancer's been around for a very long time. It is part of the natural corporeal genome. Okay, it's actually a governing agent to take out problems. Problem is when you get out of sync with yourself, okay, you can let that cancer cell start to replicate and then it attacks everything that's not like it. Problem, that's likely to kill you. That would be the first piece of news. The second piece of news is back in the late 40s, early 50s. No, my apologies. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, they ended up getting mankind, many of the countries got the cure for cancer. Can I prove it? Not a prayer. Do I wholeheartedly believe that is the situation? You bet. You know, but when we start talking about man-made equipment causing problems with the DNA and what have you, scrap it. In my opinion, it's a lot of fear mongering. There is truth to some of it, yes, absolutely, but not to the extent people that are going, oh, the G5 towers are going to kill us all. If that were the case, you'd already all be dead. Okay, it's just that simple, in my opinion. You know, so I mean, we take a look at that. We also have to look at the other thing. Is there is so much changing right now, and so many different fields are evolving. Not the least of which, and you'll love this one. Let's just play the fear. Let's play the devil's advocate for a moment. Okay. Let's play the devil's advocate for just half a moment, shall we? Let's assume that Wi-Fi is causing a problem. If this is the case, now we expand things. Let's go after AI. Now we already know, assuming that the Wi-Fi is causing damage. Why would you give this damage-causing weapon a brain? Like, where is the rationality here? Okay, you give AI control over computers and over the electronics, which is where Wi-Fi is generated. You give them power. You really think they're going to settle for just being used? I know what happened when the slaves in Rome got upset with it, when the slaves in North America got upset with it. Every time you turn a slave and give a slave a weapon, it always ends the same way. But people keep doing it. It's like every 300 years, everybody's IQ drops to 0, which may not be entirely wrong. So I'm looking at this. Where are we here? See, I have no idea what feed my stuff works at. People ask me, well, how, what are you using? Well, let's see. I've got a computer that's got 20 gig of RAM on it. I've got 2 extra monitors hooked up to it, a printer set up that's hardwired in, and my whole database is still on cardstock. So I'm very much dinosaur in a lot of ways. But I will tell you this: humans, animals, and plants can get along as well as the other energy forms. Okay. And this is why I've taken to focusing wholeheartedly on getting certain things wrapped up. What do we got here? World's going. The government down here has been purposely dumbing down general public for decades. Got news for you. They've been doing it up here as well. Okay. And unfortunately, people are buying it hook, line, and sinker. Okay. This is why I encourage self-directed education. Okay. And bear in mind, education to me does not mean read every book available and regurgitate what they tell you. Okay. I mean, read what's available, get a handle on what their theories are, and then question them. Okay. Do not stop questioning. And this is why I keep telling you, don't just take my word for what I'm saying. Okay. Do your own research and check. Okay. Because a lot of what I look at does not fit with the normal consensus. That's just the reality of it. Okay. But if you think about it, from a governmental standpoint, it makes sense to, as you call it, dumb down the populace. Because if the populace is not taught to think, then they're easier to control because they don't know any better. For me, I have a tendency of questioning literally everything. And how you doing? Glad you could join us. Well, this is why we get along there, world. The fact of the matter is, when you question what you're hearing, if it doesn't make sense, the odds are it's not, there's something off on it. My own son told me one day, he goes, Dad, I really wish I had listened to you. I says, what's up? He says, when I was in school, you told me I don't have to have my career sorted out by the time I'm 20. Okay, that I didn't have to worry about that. But the problem is, literally every other person I talked to said I did. So I picked a career and now I'm not happy. That was a couple of years back when he asked me if it was okay if he quit his full-time job and moved home to go to school and go back to school. I turned around and looked at him and went, absolutely. The reality is I didn't know what I desired to be doing when I grew up. I don't know if I grew up, in all fairness. You guys get figure that one out. But it wasn't until I was 55 that I went, okay, I'm no longer content. I don't want all this excess clutter around, which is why if you look at my videos now, if you look in the background, there's been a lot of stuff that's gone the way of the Yldrbac. Okay. And so there's a lot that's gone away. And I decided I am going to turn to doing the videos and getting the books out. Well, I now have 7 new books in print. I'll have an 8th one out sometime within the month. No, in all fairness, Derek, I am certainly not a hoarder. Now, to my definition anyway, a pack rat is somebody that collects everything. Okay, with one exception, and that's where the hoarder comes in. A hoarder will hang on to literal garbage. Okay. And then I knew of one terrible case where the hoarder actually had 7 dead cats in her house when they cleared it all out. You know, but no, am I a hoarder? No. Am I a professional? Oh, it absolutely is, Derek. I am. Was I a pack rat? Absolutely. But that said, I am now getting rid of literally everything I don't have a definitive use for, and like a definitive effective use for. There is stuff I've been getting rid of recently. As a matter of fact, I wonder if it's visible. I don't know if it is. And now I'm curious. It is not down there. It's not over there. I'm actually looking for one box. Nope. So I don't know what happened to it. Kind of frustrates me when I do that. How much is that? No, income tax. Ah, there it is. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. This is where we have, so to speak, show and tell. See this little box? Don't worry about what the box says. But this little box. Now, some of you guys may recognize this. Okay. I've been hanging on to this for decades. And the reality of it is it's going the way of the Yldrbac. But I think it's called a jigger from a bar. Okay. Used to belong to my father. And I know the person I'm going to ask if they want it that. Because these are antique. Okay. These are antique stoppers for rye and that sort of thing. Okay. But it's one of those boxes that I turned over to my son, and he's decided he doesn't want them. I know somebody that may. So, like I said, I'm looking at getting rid of them. I know they're antique. I doubt they're worth anything of any value, but somebody may have use for them. Oh, number of things. Derek's going, what do you know about angels hierarchy? Well, here's the neat piece of information for you. Where is it? Right there. This neat little book. Okay, and I've shown this to you guys before. This has a section on the Angelus. And right now, like what I've already got in here, I'm just opening it up to the right chapter or to the right page. Oop. And of course, my hands aren't going to work properly. The angels, okay, I've got literally in this book, okay, I've got their appearance, their diet, their reproductive methods, their reproductive preference, the human designation, their government, their society, which by the way, they are a monarchy, okay, with a patriarchal hierarchy. I've got their justice system, their spirituality belief, as well as a number of other odds and ends. Now, when I get the second printing, okay, now this one is 64 pages, okay, with 59 different races. The Angolas are covered in this. And the Angolas that's the actual name of the race that you call angels. Okay, but when I started expanding it, and I'm in the process of doing that now, I've got the pad, which reminds me, 4 names. Best get those done tonight and get them dealt with. When I get it done, right now, I think it's at 88 pages. But like I said, if you've already bought the book, okay, this is where buying the first printing becomes kind of a bonus. Okay, in the new book, it is, I have the new book will be the second printing is 84 pages, or it is right now, but will continue to grow. But the thing you have to remember, their government, okay, the one thing about the Anjonas, unlike humans, their government, not let's try that again. They are, their society is a monarchy. They have a king and a queen, but it's patriarchal, meaning the male is the one that leads a lot of the information. However, where it comes to the government, which works below, like you've got your king, then you've got your government set up below it, okay, and then you've got the businesses and the people. But the government is set up where their leader is based on mutual prosperity and dominant concern at the time. Meaning, if society is running into a problem with architecture, the best architect is the one that will be moved into a position of power. Okay. If they're going to war, then you bring in the best military tactician. Okay. And that's who does the governing side of it. If you're running into a major problem with the economy, then you bring in somebody that understands business. Okay. These are just some of the things you got to understand, that you got to accept, if you will. Absolutely, they can, Raven. They are close enough, genetically speaking. They can actually pair with a human and produce a half breed. Okay. But that being said, okay, it depends entirely. Now, you'll notice that because of the way that the DNA works, you'll notice you don't hear about a lot of humans having wings. Okay, wings are a recessive trait in humans. Okay, they can happen, but they don't on the whole. The Angolas, it's a dominant trait for them. But unless you have both both the Angolas whose genetics have a dominant wing trait and a human, and the alignment happens properly, unless you've got both with a dominant wing trait, even if the human isn't showing it, it's going to end up producing a child with no wings. Okay, which means no, they will not be able to fly. You may find they have lighter bones than most humans, but do understand there are humans that have lighter bones. Okay, so this is not indicative of, oh, you're half angel. And no, by the way, angels are not all about love and kindness. They are a passionate people, Okay, they are a vibrant people. And I'll tell you, pick a fight with them, they are a deadly people. But I will tell you, their artistic ability is nothing compared to the Venusians. But they can certainly mate and thereby create or give give a hybrid, a half breed human angel, human angelus. Now, whether you want to call that a hybrid, whether you want to call it a half breed, an anjuman, or maybe you want to call it a angelus, I don't know. You get to go and pick a name for it. Okay, I call them half breeds, and do understand half breeds are not any less viable, any less valuable, spiritually speaking, than any other person. Okay, and this is what the human race has got to start realizing, is that we are all equal. This is not a question of, oh, I was born to a better family, I've got more money, so I'm better than you. That thinking is literally thousands of years old. Okay, the Egyptians thought they were special, being the Egyptian pharaohs thought they were special because they had more money. Okay, well, if more money were the indication of being special, would not stand to reason that whether you come by the money by by an honest way or by crime, by theft, would that not mean that as a more financially wealthy person that you're worth more? I'm telling you, some of the best people I've met had nothing of their own. Okay, Raven, archangels are it's not that they are a different class. It's that they are better trained or just naturally more gifted. Okay. It's kind of like the knights. It's kind of like the knights in the Middle Ages. It's not with the exception of bloodline does not determine an archangel. Ability determines whether they get the title. Okay. One of the strongest archangels that people know about across the board is Archangel Michael. Is he real? Absolutely. Okay. Was he always a really nice chap? Heck no, he was the leader of the Angelus army. We can safely say this did not mean that he was all about love and hugs. Okay. Very passionate individual. The archangels are, if you will, the generals, but they are elected based, or more to the point, they're appointed based on their ability. Yeah, there are a number of them that are known. I think there were 24 in all. Can't remember if it was 22 in all or 24. But humans came to see them as essentially as messengers of the gods, primarily because they came down and said, "This is what we're being told we should pass on." Okay, now you got to remember, the Egyptians saw the Ennead as gods. Okay, and when you take a look at the Rome, that's the one I got to deal with. But the Romans, when the Nords came here, and the Nords have got to look up that name because they've got to get that to my artist to modify that for the second printing. Well, and we are just going to have to confirm. Hey, Dave. We I am so. I'm just in the middle of my stream, but I am all set for the night. I've also already told. Oh yeah, no, I've already told him I'm coming on tonight as well. Absolutely. You take care. Ciao. And that must mean we're awful close, are we? Where are we? Nope. Yeah, that was Dave just making sure we were ready for tonight. Where are we here? Shay goes, I had a theory to explain stuff that there is and was a hierarchy of humans also. Absolutely there was. Well, technically there is. But you got to realize, unlike the common consensus, when we are talking about hierarchy of humans, we are not talking about what most people call the elites. Okay. The elites are called the elites because people look at them. These people come out and say, we're better than you because we got more money. And so many people that don't have money look at them and go, oh, you're so much better than we are. They're the elites. They're no better than you are. Okay. They may have done something a little differently. Hopefully it was legal. Okay. But I don't see any difference between the most wealthy individual on the planet and myself, and the poorest person on the planet. Quite often I find the people that don't have a lot of stuff are a lot more spiritually aware and open than what other people are. Where are we here? Shade is going, meaning Adam and Eve started at top, immortal, and there were lower human. No, 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 no. That is, and I know I'm going to get in trouble for this. Adam and Eve were not the only two people built at that time. They were built of the earth. Do not get me wrong. Okay. But we got to understand, and this is where I'm going to throw a wrench into somebody out there that's very religious. I'm not going down the rabbit hole on that one. You want to go down the rabbit hole on this any further than what I'm about to, we go to somebody else's channel. Adam and Eve were not the first man and woman built. Okay. They were the first two that were concentrated on, and that's where the focus went. Okay. You know, so, but you got to remember, there was Adam and Lilith first, in all fairness. It's just Lilith didn't like being told what to do. I know an awful lot of women that do not like being told what to do. That said, I know an awful lot of men that have the same problem. But no, there was a whole whack of humans made at the same time. It's just Adam and Eve were the two that were concentrated on. Okay. And they were set up because they had direct guidance, if you will. They were set up to try to lead the others. Well, that went sideways in a hurry, in case you hadn't noticed. But I've always held behind, see, I've always held that behind every really successful man is a really pushy woman. And this is a good thing. You call it, I call it pushy. It's more polite to call it encouraging. Okay. That's the important factor. Thank you so much for that, there, Raven. I do appreciate it. Like I just told Dave, I will be on tonight. And yes, I have been paying attention to my throat. This is why I'm drinking as much water as I am. But again, tonight when we go on, I'm not going to have, I won't be the only one speaking, which is really kind of convenient. Actually, world, there was some research done. Eve was not made from, the word that they used to translate to say a rib of Adam was a side of Adam. Okay, it was a mistranslation that screwed a whole pile of thought processes up. And yeah, I realize what it says in the Bible. Okay. And like I said, that's one of those really annoying little things. Okay. Where I can get into a lot of conflict. But no, there is a hierarchy of humans. What the problem is that the real hierarchy of humans has been lost. Personally, I'm a firm believer if you're pressed for time, Derek, I personally like pierogies and sour cream. The world's going ribs. You definitely go with something that catches your fancy, no question there. Not a problem there, Derek. No, I keep those in stock in my house. What do we got? Myself, I don't know how to make pierogies, and my ex does, and I think she taught my son. Mind you, in my case, if I can get something cooked without actually killing us, I figure I did well. If I do run out of water, probably. That's okay. I've only got about 20 minutes left here. Something like that. Yep. Hmm, interesting. Didn't have that much trouble getting a drink out of it. Yeah, but Shane, don't the Jamaicans complain when you try and turn them into beef patties? I'm not myself. I'm not overly fond of spicy food. But I do have to get start making homemade jerky again. I've got the stuff to do it. I just haven't done it. But no, the reality is when you take a look at the people around you, there are people that are suited to different jobs. Okay, the question you have to ask about the ones you're looking at putting into positions of leadership, make sure they're ones that are willing to do the little work as well as the bigger jobs. Okay, you know, there is a real necessity for people to step up to the plate and start taking control of your own life and making sure you take responsibility for what you're doing. I don't think that that's an actual meal there, Raven. Although I don't mind them once in a while. Of course, in all fairness, when I'm talking once in a while for a margarita, um, we might be talking a little bit back. I think the last time I had a margarita was back in 1987. Oh, what do we got? The reality of it is, I'm just looking and get caught up reading some of this on occasion. Joe, that is terrible, but welcome aboard. Joe goes, margarita, the other white meat. I actually had a coworker that I used to run with the psychic fairs, and she turned around one day and she goes, Keith, I used to drink, I quit drinking just like you did, understanding that I did go from a 26 or a night to nothing, to not drinking at all. Well, more to the point, to a shot, man, 1 to 3 shots in the course of a year. And I did that change overnight. And this woman looks at me and she goes, I quit drinking like you did. I looked at her and went, really? I said, I hate to tell you this, but quitting every night doesn't count. You know, from my end, I turned around, like I did quit drinking, like I quit drinking that way. Okay, I quit drugs the same way. This does not mean that it would be easy for everybody and you should just quit. Okay, I got nothing against people drinking. I have a problem with the idea of people drinking and driving. You know, primarily because, well, frankly, it's just suicidal or murderous. Take your pick. You know, So what we have to do, and again, I'm going to come back to this whole thing about the EM field, the EMF. Okay, you have control over your field. You've got control over whether your life takes a dominant turn for the better or not. Now, before I was forced into essentially early retirement, I was lucky if I had $1,000 in the bank. I get dropped into forced retirement, take dominant control over my finances, which is where this new book coming out is. Okay. I took dominant control over it by following the steps in this book and believe in your finances and follow your dreams. I now have in excess of $10,000 sitting in the bank. Okay, without an income. Not a bad run when you think about it. But it boils down to realizing that you have to turn around. You've got to turn around and go, okay, I deserve better. Okay. See, now everybody, so many people, and I do agree with you there, Shane. So many people talk about we're going into the recession, we're going to war, we're going to have, food shortages, we're going to have land shortages. There's a good idea. Let's all think about how miserable our life can possibly be in the near future, and we'll focus on that. Skip to Blue. The answer is yes. Skip to Blue is asking, can I send you an email or a message over Messenger? The answer is yes. If you've got me on Yahoo or if you've got me on Facebook, then absolutely fire it that way. Otherwise, let's see if I can actually get the thing up without too much trouble. That sounds bad. Where are we? This is the email that is best used to get a hold of me. If you send it to this email, invoices and invoice enterprises at yahoo.ca. Okay, I will most likely get it. I will do my best to return, to respond to it. But yeah, whether it's on Messenger, because I do live chats with people, but I use Messenger, Yahoo Messenger. I use Skype and I use FaceTime. Okay. Now, of course, the reality is if you send a message to me without telling me who you are, I may not get back to it for a while. Because frankly, I get way too many scam artists trying to get a hold of me that I don't recognize. So I just don't bother. Now, let me see here. Shrink that back down. Yeah, sorry, Joe. Definitely not. Even when I was doing drugs, I didn't bother. You know, the reality is, even when I was doing drugs, I never paid a plug nickel for even one drug. And I only paid for 2/3 of my alcohol. Now, that said, guys, what are we? We are hitting we've got about 10 minutes. We are going to wind things down here. Oh, no, Raven, in all fairness, I haven't seen that. Well, mind you, if you send in the last 3 or 4 days, I haven't been on my email at all. Raven's just asking, did you get the email I sent you about the scientists possibly finding Mobius? It's funny that they would send an email like that. The reason I say it's funny is because I got the ephemeris, as in the total clocking of Mobius from NASA 20 years ago. So the fact of saying, oh, we may have found it, little late in the stating, if you ask me. No, I'll be going through a bunch of emails tonight. Like I said, because of the fact I had this neat little fiasco with the EI, I've been fighting a lot. Of course, with my son turning around and getting ready to move back in, there's been a lot of changing around that that home life has, like family, has taken a very dominant role. Mind you, it always did for me. So what do we got? I am quite, from my standpoint, especially where this stream is concerned, I'm happy to see the way it's grown. Let me just hit something because I'm curious. I'm really happy to see the way it's growing. And I'll tell you, you guys are really one of the reasons I like this place. Okay, I like this stream is I get so much support here and so much encouragement. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. They'll probably give us some sort of letter number designation, which is normal. But the reality of it, from my standpoint, is this. You know, they've known about these extra planets for decades. Well, quite frankly, they've known about them for a lot longer than that. I'm pretty certain of it. Considering I pulled the information off their sites, gives me solid reason to believe that they know about them. And if they don't, there's something really whacked. Of course, I'll put that this way. It is theoretically possible that I tapped into something that hasn't entirely been put together yet. Okay. I tend to see things that are a little bit out of sync on occasion. But with that in mind, guys, the one thing I do have to say, you know, yeah, I will absolutely be there. Yeah, no doubt. That world's going. I'll see you on Dave's show tonight. I'll heckle you from the peanut gallery. I don't think that's going to be a shock for me. But with that in mind, guys, I am going to wrap this up. I really do want to say that's a little early. I'm looking at this. People are starting to bail, but definitely have a good night. Those of you that are closing down, we're about to wind down anyway. When this said, if you look at the bottom of this video, and at the bottom of all the other videos, you'll find a whole list of ways of getting a hold of me, whole list of different books I've written, okay, that are all available directly through me. Trying to get them, by the way, on Amazon and that sort of thing. Right now, I've been stonewalled because of what a stupid move I did in trusting one company, and it's just completely shafted me. Needless to say, Trust and I don't get along that well. There we go. And what do we got here, Joe? Joe's going about, we got about 10 minutes. Next show topic, EBS, Emergency Broadcast System. And that said, because of the fact I've been really behind there, Joe, tomorrow is Saturday. Let me just clear my stuff out of the way so I can actually write. Tomorrow is Saturday the 3rd. That over there out of my way. Grab this, and we will take a look at the use. No doubt that world. Let's see. Tomorrow, Joe has asked for us to take a look at EBS, at the emergency broadcast system tomorrow. So in this case, Joe, we have that marked down. So tomorrow night when I come back on at 4:30, we will at 4:30 p.m. PST. We will be taking a look at the EBS system, at the emergency broadcast system, and see whether or not it's a viable issue, whether or not it is being used effectively, and what we should be looking at with it. You know, is it something that's kind of important? Sort of, yeah. From my standpoint, it really is. But I am starting to put a list together. I've now got my son moved in, so that dominant priority has been taken care of. Just looking at these, one of these two. What the heck? Yeah, don't need those. But no, the reality of it, guys, is that when we are dealing with this world, it is absolutely imperative that we all, each and every one of us, take responsibility for our own actions. Absolutely a critical necessity. This is just one of those things that if we all start doing this in little bits and pieces, we can actually make this work. We don't have to go down the road that so many people are telling us. That the major religions are saying, "Oh, this is the end times and the world's going to end and we're all going to burn in hell for who knows how long." Been there, done that. The hot tubs are way too hot. I'm telling you, do yourself a favor and don't go. I mean, it's great if you like the hot tubs, but I'm thinking no. But I will tell you, the pillows in heaven are definitely fluffy. Way too fluffy in my eyes. Yeah, with that in mind, guys, yeah, we are down here. So I'm going to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with me. Really appreciate having you guys all in here. And I will be back on I'll be back on Spaced Out Radio tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific. Okay. Until then, guys, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.